Thank you so much for the introduction. My name's Allara. It's a pleasure to be joining you this morning on a fine Friday morning from my rental in Preston. I'd like to acknowledge the sovereignty never ceded on this land that I am, which is the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung of the Kulin Nation, and pay my really deep respects and gratitude for the sovereignty of those mob and the continued connection to culture and community that they display and share. And it's completely generous the way they do it. And so I just want to pay my respects to elders, past, present and future, and also to their ancestors and their country and their kids. And sovereignty was never ceded, always was, always will be Aboriginal land. And it's a pleasure to live and work on the lands of the Kulin Nation. I'm just going to make sure that I can't see myself in my own Zoom screen, which is all very distracting when you can see yourself and you're performing. So I'm just going to make that go away. I want to see your faces. What do you look like? Who are you? Hello, Sarah Firth and Jeffrey Phillips and Ruby Dong. Nice to meet you all. Yes, I am shouting out those people who, oh, Bridie, hello from the SLV. I used to work at the SLV. It's good to see you there. Cool. All right. Well, here we go. I'm going to start off with a song that I released a couple of years ago called Walla is Life. It's about the sacredness of water, and it's a bit about my story, I guess, as a Yorta Yorta woman and my connection to country. It's also about it's about taking your power back as humans connected to country. And so, like, for example, I'm a Yorta Yorta woman, and so I'm from the part of country where the Murray River runs through, like Echuca, Barma. My grandfather was born at Cumragunja, and this song is really about taking back that power and that remembering that we have rights as humans for clean air and clean water. And it's it's a little bit of a call out to the Gubba, or the government, and big corporations who think that we can use, or think that they can just take and sell water and our resources that belong to Mother Earth, and that we all share in a reciprocal way. So just think of that when you're listening to the song. It's kind of a breakdown. Anyway, I'll just play it and then you'll know. And then I'm going to take you through the lyrics and show you some images. So I hope you enjoy it. This is Walla is Life. And in Yorta Yorta language, Walla means water. Walla is life. Walla falls from sky, rain beginning of life, like our kinship ties. In Mother Earth's eyes, riverbanks flow wide, fingerlings swim wild, making Mother Moon smile. Hasn't rained in a while. Walla is blood. Walla gives flood. Walla is life. Gotta get law right. Limitless undercurrents. Pushing, pulling, pumping. Gliding, sliding, mulling. Trickle from the nipple of sacred springs. It's an animal thing. Made to give us wings. Might come if we sing. After the rain, the river flows. After the rain, the river flows. After the rain, the river flows. After the rain, the river flows, and the kookaburra sings. And the kookaburra sings. In the gubba site, 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 in the gubba site. In the gubba site, 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 in the gubba site. Seasons, summer breeze, leaves southeasterlies. Frost on toes will freeze, and plants to make you sneeze. Downpours, thunderstorms, temps above the norm. Bees will cease to swarm, and the ocean far too warm. It's an animal thing, made to give us swings. Might come if we sing. After the rain, the river flows. After the rain, the river flows. After the rain, the river flows. After the rain, the river flows, and the kookaburra sings. And the kookaburra sings. This one, usually if I was like in real life with you, I'd be making you all do live kookaburra laughs, and it's really funny and hilarious, and it's just kind of awkward and weird at home in the studio over Zoom. So just saying for context, if you're at your desk at work, I would love to see you laughing like a kookaburra. It's fun, trust me. Except teenagers don't like doing it. It's just awkward with teenagers as well. Endless supply in the gubba site. 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 After the rain, the river flows. 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 Cool. And that's Walla is life. So thank you all so much. I forgot to turn my notification sounds off and Now I've got my camera up here and the Zoom screen down there, so it's going to look like I'm not looking at you at the camera, but I'm looking at you down there. Down there. That's what I'm looking at. Hello. Maybe I'll just put this next to the thing. Cool. So, thank you so much. Hang on. There we go. That's better. I hope that there were some kookaburras at desks. Were there some kookaburras at desks? Raise your hand if you did a kookaburra laugh at your desk. Yes, Jeremy Phillips, I knew I could trust you. Cool. I can't see everybody here. Just a regular laugh. Oh, well, that's all right as well. Okay, so I've got a couple of things to share with you about that song. And really the concept of radical revolution for me is about practicing culture in a really holistic way and a really decolonized way. And it's quite hard to do that when you, it's just quite hard. Like it's really hard because as an Aboriginal woman, I'm constantly walking in two worlds, and that's never easy when they don't always work. They don't always work together. They're actually quite the opposite. So it can be quite difficult when I'm practicing culture. So I think of my music as more ceremonial and more of a songline than like some artists would maybe think of their song as like pop or whatever, which is great as well. Like I love listening to all kinds of music, but for me, music is a cultural responsibility. And what I say in that music is part of that cultural responsibility, which is caring for country and protecting country. And it's part of our songlines, and songlines is something that has been part of Aboriginal culture since the beginning of time. And songlines is part of what makes us who we are. It's our values, it's our morals, it's how we understand connections to different mobs throughout the country. It's how it's our law, and so Aboriginal song and songlines is the radical revolution, I think, of 2020. And it's really important that First Nations artists are supported in that, because in the music industry where capitalism reigns, it's really hard to hold on to your integrity and hold on to your values when you're constantly being led by carrots in all these different directions to sell out or to whatever. And it's really it is really difficult at times to hold on to your integrity in that space. So I'm going to show you some images that some Year 9 students from Thornbury High School did. We worked together to they did these amazing artworks and I kind of explained some of the lyrics in Wallara's life, and they created these artworks based off that, and I was so impressed. I really couldn't believe the depth of understanding that these students had through the yarns. And so I think it really helped them understand the song in a whole nother level, because when I write each line, it's got a different story behind it. So it's like all of these different stories and layers of cultural knowledge and identity and understanding come through when I get the opportunity to explain all of the lyrics, but I don't really get that opportunity very often. So I thought I would take today to explain some of the lyrics in that song and show you some of these kids' artworks. And they are so amazing. You're going to be blown out. So I'm just going to share my screen. And sorry, you don't have like the best angle of my face, but whatever. I have a face. We all have a face. All right. I'm going to share with you. I don't need to share the computer sound. It's just videos. All right. So this is, this is the first image while there is life. Rain, beginning of life. Without rain, without water, we wouldn't be here. Everything's kind of on this planet has grown from that connection between water and if there wasn't water, there wouldn't be life. Walla falls from sky. So it's a beautiful artwork, and I love the way the student put put the world in a droplet coming back, so it's like reciprocal and regenerative. And there's some really cute worms in the dirt, which is sweet. Like our kinship ties. So our kinship ties and family and community are also part of what makes us who we are, and connections to kin. And that's not just, kin isn't just each other with humans, but it's all of our animal family as well, and plant family. And that's part of our culture where we live in harmony, and we don't see ourselves above anything. Like we're not above that tree over there. Like we don't get the right to just cut down that tree over there. Sorry, I've got a bit of a Fingerlings Swim Wild. So this story behind Fingerlings Swim Wild is about a story that my grandfather told me. And from before he was born, his old people would go down by the river and they would create these little fish nurseries. They would get the big river red gums and create these nurseries, and they'll go fishing. And my grandmother was one of the best fishermen in the community, and everyone whenever I mention who my grandmother is, Nanny Sophie Briggs, everyone's like, oh my gosh, wow, she was the best. She was always down the river fishing. And so and anyway, so we would catch the cod and the Murray cod, and we would squeeze the eggs from the female fish and the milk from the male fish, and then leave that. And it had to be done at a very specific time of the year, in line with law and with the seasons and the seasonal changes. And then, like 28 days later, you'd come back and the little fingerlings would be all there because they'd hatched, and then you would roll the log away and the fish would go swim into the river and have a much better chance of survival, and were safe there in their fish nursery from the other predator animals who might like to eat fish eggs. So yeah, that's that story, Fingerlings Swim Wild. And they're not swimming as wild as they used to. And I know that corporations and scientists have tried to because with the carp, they like to eat the baby fingerlings, and they muddy the water and they make it's less good. And so scientists have tried to breed the Murray cod in labs and stuff, and then release them into the water, and only about 5% of them survive, whereas when we do it, 95% of them survive. And then riverbanks flow wide, so this just in reference to the grandeur and the beauty of the rivers. And then this is going in the perspective from Mother Earth. So in Mother Earth's eyes, and then hasn't rained in a while. So this is obviously a reference to climate change and drought and what's happening to the earth at the moment. So in Yorta Yorta culture, and on the banks of the Murray River, and all along that songline there, that river, we have in Barmah is the biggest river red gum forest in the world, and the river red gums, they like their feet wet, so every few years they love a flood, and because of the way that I guess the irrigation systems and the way that the rivers are treated and managed now, we don't get those floods very often, and so it's threatening the river red gums. And if we don't have a flood, and if we don't have a flood at the right time, the fish won't breed and spawn at the right time. And so it's just really, it's a really important part of our law and our systems and our culture for the rivers to flood at the right time. And so obviously wala and water gives that opportunity for the floods, and without it there a whole lot of things can't happen. And so it's also and then also wala is blood, is a reference to the rivers and the water being the blood of the earth's body, as blood is the water to our body. And so it's a connection. It's like we're the same as the earth. And so the fingerlings swim wild. Making Mother Moon smile is the lyric that comes after when fingerlings swim wild, and making Mother Moon smile. And so Mother Moon is that connection between the feminine and this and our cycles, and the moon cycles, and also as a way and in the stars and the solar system as a way that it's a connection to how we follow our seasons and the connections to and the stars and that. So it's a good way to tell time, and so that's the connection to that. Got to get law right. So this is in reference to, I guess, decolonizing ourselves. And so for me, like, part of Aboriginal law is that we care for country, and too often mining companies and governments and corporations are, yeah, I guess, like holding those carrots and teasing with like large sums of money. And when you do that to an impoverished community, there isn't many options except to take the money and, you know, give up give up your land, or like your whatever. And so this is about, I guess, in reference to caring for country and doing the right thing by country. And yeah, trying to understand our law properly, because we haven't necessarily been able to continue that. Like, things have been disconnected and jagged, and we're working really hard to revive our cultural law and our sovereignty. But we know it deep down, and that's our part of our cellular memory. We're able to remember and let our spirit and our I guess our ancestors guide that process of what is the right thing to do. And so, yeah, this is just to, I guess, it's not just governments and big corporations, but this is also a message to First Nations people as well. You know, like, are we doing the right thing? Are we caring for each other? Are we caring for country? While there is life. And yeah, the pushing, pulling, pumping, obviously that's in reference to like the water and the way it kind of swirls around in the riverbeds and you know, storms and everything like that. Limitless undercurrents. And this is just beautiful. I love this one because it's like a galaxy under the ocean. And it's just like, where does it start and where does it end? And, you know, because the water, there's always the same amount of water on Earth, which is amazing, whether it's in the sky or whether it's in our bodies or under things. So it's crazy to think about. But yeah, this is beautiful, this artwork. And then trickles from the nipples, you know, like these sacred springs and these places where water comes from under the ground. And it reminds me of like the breast of Mother Earth and the water coming from her nipples. And kids always giggle at this. They're like, she said nipple, which is quite funny and a bit cheeky. And it can also be like, you know, the sexuality of the earth and of us as people. So, and that motherhood that both women and the earth have, you know. Gliding, sliding, mulling, you know, just poetry, I guess, here. It's an animal thing. And so this it's an animal thing is it's like we're animals, like we're not separate from them. We all need water. And yeah. Trickle from the nipple of sacred springs. So that's another, these aren't all in order. Sorry about that. And then after the rain, the river flows. This looks more like an ocean, but that's okay. They did an amazing job. It's beautiful. And then, yeah. So this is Walla. Walla is made to give us wings. It's an animal thing made to give us wings. And so this was a cheeky, I'm going to steal that Red Bull, like water is the thing that gives us wings. Water is our connection to everything. And so, yeah, I just totally stole a Red Bull phrase and put it in there because I thought we as people that have some of the biggest health issues in the world, First Nations communities and here and across the globe, unhealthy foods is something that I think we need to try and be more healthier and drink a water instead of a Coke, or like drink a water instead of a Red Bull. And so this was like more of an encouragement to be like, water gives you wings. Water is magic. It can make you everything that you need to be. And after the rain, the river flows, and the kookaburras sing. So when I was out bush with my grandfather, it had just been raining, and the kookaburras were going crazy, and that's that recording that you heard. And so I wanted to put these lyrics in here in reference to my grandfather's story of after the rain, the river flows, and the kookaburras sing. So we're saying, why are the kookaburras so noisy? And he goes, oh, they're singing because the rain's finished now. And so that's that reference. After the rain, the river flows, and the kookaburra sings. Some beautiful interpretation of rain. And the kookaburra up in the tree. I love this one. Again, the rain versus the kind of like the muddy, the kind of drought, like really too much sun or whatever. Yeah, just beautiful, beautiful artworks. Season, summer breeze. And this was a reference, and I know a lot more about our traditional seasons now, and there weren't 4 seasons like Wurundjeri. There's like 6, 7 seasons. And so this is like trying to understand and reference like all of the seasons and the climate. And then we get to in the Gubba site. So this is I don't know, it speaks for itself. They've got a little Murnong farm. The Murnong farm is taking over Parliament House. It's incredible. I can't believe these kids drew this. Like, you guys are amazing. Frost on toes will freeze. So one day I went and took out a bunch of people, and I was doing Waiapa, which is like an Aboriginal kind of yoga thing. And I took them out, and I made everyone take their shoes off, and we went out and did this yoga practice, this Waiapa work. And our toes got so frozen that I had to like reference that in this song. Because I just thought that was so funny. I was like, let's connect to country. And then we all ended up just like having super numb feet and were really cold. Plants to make you sneeze. So this is a reference to 2 things. It's a reference to hay fever season, which is right now for some people. And I guess the imported or the non-native plants, which make a lot of people sneeze and give them hay fever. But it's also in reference to a traditional plant called old man weed or sneeze weed, and it's a traditional yoda yoda medicine plant that can be used for all sorts of things to heal your body. And so I just, that's like, there's always something, multiple layers behind the lyrics that I'm singing about in all of my songs. Leaves, southeasterly, so this is like autumn. and the winds. The ocean's, far too warm, obviously. Again, reference to climate change. Bees will cease to swarm. Since writing this song, I've realised somebody's said to me, a Gunai friend of mine said, we actually have a lot of bats that do the pollinating, bats and little possums and things that do pollinating here in our native places like our forests and bushlands and stuff. So, but yeah, obviously the bees is like, without bees, you know, we're all going to be pretty stuffed. So yeah. This is like downpours, thunderstorms, temps above the norm. Yep. You get it. You know, you're getting the message. And this is a beautiful artist named Flora, and this is actually a self-portrait of herself singing. And she was the most beautiful and connected little human, and she loved this song so much. Like every time I arrived at the school, she was like, "After the rain," and her spirit was just huge. And this is a self-portrait. And, you know, Might Come If We Sing is a reference to, again, our song lines and how we're spiritually connected to country, and our song and our art and our dance is connected to country. And that, I watched, for example, the Rainmakers film, and how we're able to do ceremony to bring the rain and things like that. And that climate change isn't just a scientific kind of disconnection or issue. It's a spiritual issue. And so we spiritually need to be more aware and more connected to what's happening around us. And so this is like, a reference to not just those like lost song lines of like, well, what songs did we sing, you know? And I heard an elder say once, you know, we'll other stuff, but I won't go into all of it. It's a lot. And then, made to give us wings. Like, we're magic people. This cute little creature. Yeah, it's an animal thing made to give us wings. I don't know how these got so out of order, but yeah. Oh, we will feel the sting. So, yeah, if we don't take care of country, we're going to feel that sting. You know, bees not going to be happy. We'll feel the sting of climate change, which we are. And then these are some of the artists. Yeah. I'm not sure how much time we've got left. Do I have a little bit more time? 3 minutes? Is that 3 minutes? Okay, great. Well, I want to just let me just check my notes that I haven't forgotten anything super important that I wanted to say. I think the main thing that I want to say is that, you know, my music is about climate justice. It's that First Nations people, you know, we don't just see all the issues, like we feel it so closely in our bodies, in our hearts, in our spirits. We feel it like the land feels it. So when you see that tornado, like that's what we're feeling inside. Or when you see that dry riverbed, you know, we're feeling pretty heartbroken. And that's a connection that I think a lot of people are starting to understand and are starting to feel more connected to, not just First Nations people. And it's a really human thing to feel. And so I want to say that, like, I guess I'm not an activist, you know, and the radical changes that we need to see in the world and that we need to do are not radical. Like, it's not radical to want clean water and to want a safe place for your children and your grandchildren to grow up. And in saying that, I'd like to just quickly say and mention SEED, Indigenous Youth Climate Network, who have inspired most of my work. And I volunteer with them. They're the first and the biggest network of young Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in Australia, and that stretches out globally. So we've met First Nations people from around the world through working with SEED, and so I've been a volunteer and I've been an employee, and the work that we're doing to care for country and engage communities to understand what free, prior and informed consent is in regards to mining and all of this. Like, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and there's a lot of environmental activism, environmental racism that's happening. Like, we wouldn't see a gas field or a mine opened up like right next to Melbourne, so why are they doing it in people's homes in remote areas? And in that, I'd love if Jeremy could please share the video about Seed, and it's got, I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to read the script, read the narrative for this. So yeah, I really appreciate all of your listening, and if you have any questions, send me an email or send me a message or whatever. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's been an early morning, but that's all good. I love you guys, and I'll leave you with this video. Thank you so much. All around the world, sea levels are rising, and so are First Nations people. Always was, always will be Aboriginal.
When our homelands are on fire and our rivers run dry, when sacred sites are desecrated and communities are left behind.
We don't just see the climate crisis, we feel it.
Literally feel the pain in our own bodies when this is happening.
It is our right and our responsibility to look after country. We follow in the footsteps of our ancestors, fighting for country, for culture and our future.
We are Seed Mob, and our movement is growing.
Mining giants are paying politicians to stand in our way, but what we have that they don't is each other. Together, we can change the course of history. It's time for much more than climate action. It's time for climate justice. It's time for everyone, everywhere, to stand up. We are the first scientists, the oldest continuing culture. We've defended Mother Earth for thousands of generations. We've survived every shitstorm that's been thrown at us. We are First Nations. We are trailblazing the path out of this crisis. We know what to do. It's time for you to follow our lead, and together we can build a future worth fighting for. At Seed Mob, we stand shoulder to shoulder with communities on the front lines of fossil fuel extraction and climate impacts. We're mobilising across the country to hold governments and big corporations accountable. We are young, black, deadly warriors, and together we're unstoppable. Will you join us?